Welcome to Daniel's Inferno. My name is Daniel. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, share, and join the conversation below because I'd love to hear from you. So, today's video, we are going to be talking about Roger Stone and what's currently going on with the situation surrounding Roger Stone. Twitter is exploding about him. The president tweeted about him. The president and he do have a relationship, and there were apparently some crimes committed that Roger was indicted for, and we're going to talk about that and, again, the situation. So Roger Stone, if you do not know, is, well, he is technically a convicted felon. He is also in the political system of the United States, kind of like the seedy underworld. He personifies the seedy underworld of politics in the U.S. That's not an indictment against him, by the way. That's just a fact. He revels in a few different facts, as we'll go through here. He revels in the fact that, what interests him is the cacophony of politics, the struggle of one party or one candidate to crush another. He talked often about the concepts of toughness and loyalty, which are his highest values and the ones he associates most closely with Nixon. He has Nixon on a tattoo on his back. Trump's fortunes have always waxed and waned, but Stone has stayed loyal to him. Trump's first flirtation with presidential run in the late 1980s was midwifed by Roger Stone. Stone's troubles and his downfalls came about because he is, to put it charitably, a BS artist. This is the article. He is a rare political figure who exaggerates his evil deeds rather than his good ones. When I first profiled him in 2008, he claimed major roles in such varied scandals as the so-called Brooks Brothers riot during the 2000 Florida recount and the prostitution bust that brought down the New York State Governor Eliot Spitzer in 2008. His role in both remains unclear. It was the perverse kind of boastfulness that led to Mueller's case against him, apparently. Stone was a peripheral player in Trump's 2016 campaign. He was publicly fired but remained a phone pal of the candidate. After his firing, he found a way back into the campaign's inner circles thanks to his purported familiarity with WikiLeaks, which in July 16 released thousands of emails that had been stolen from the DNC. That kind of dirty trick was deeply appealing to Stone, and he tried to become a conduit between WikiLeaks and the campaign. Notably, as came out in the trial, he apparently had several conversations with Trump himself about the WikiLeaks disclosures, something Trump denied under oath in his written answers to Mueller. The lies for which Stone was convicted reveal his longing to be involved in the Trump campaign more than any real connection he might have had to it. He was asked by the House Intelligence Committee whether he had any emails regarding the hacked documents released by WikiLeaks. Not to my knowledge, he answered. In fact, however, he had exchanged dozens, if not hundreds, of emails about WikiLeaks, mainly with Randy Credico, an eccentric radio host and comedian in New York. Those emails showed Stone puffing about his connection to the group, which he exaggerated significantly. Still, his lie about the emails doomed him in court. Another lie involved his denial that he had tried to get information from WikiLeaks. Clearly, Stone did try, but he failed to get the information he sought. After his conviction, Trump released an indignant tweet complaining that Stone had been prosecuted, though many of the president's enemies had not. No one should expect that Stone, now facing the prospect of a prison sentence, will turn on Trump and provide incriminating evidence. That's against the code by which Stone has lived his life. More important, Stone was so far outside Trump's inner circle that it's unlikely he has so much evidence to provide. Trump has also hinted he will consider pardons for all his associates who have been convicted or pleaded guilty as a result of the Russia investigation. This includes Paul Manafort, one-time campaign chairman, but Stone, as a veteran of Trump's world, knows that loyalty is a one-way street for the president. Trump expects it but is not provided. We'll see about that. A pardon might impose a political cost on Trump, and he will almost certainly won't be willing to pay it, at least until he's a lame duck. So I think by that lame duck comment, He's referring to the fact that if he wins again in 2020, then he can really take any risks he wants because there won't be a political cost. He'll be in. As long as he doesn't do anything illegal, he's fine. So we are going to now. So why is this all important? What exactly about Roger Stone? Why am I talking about him? Why should we care at all about who he is? Well, I'm going to provide a little more information, just a little. So he actually is also, he was before all of this conviction and all of this trial against him was happening. He was working with Alex Jones's InfoWars, and he was doing a segment every day, and I actually watched it every now and again. I'm open to all sides of the political spectrum, regardless of who is speaking the comments, as long as the comments are not blatantly evil or hateful. I know how to read between the lines. I know what is political theater, and I know what is truth. Don't get me wrong, a lot of InfoWars is political theater, but it's still enjoyable. It's still enjoyable, like any other theater. So, the feds back away from Roger Stone's sentencing proposal. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means that Trump sent a tweet. The Justice Department plans to refile the recommendation later Tuesday, the officials said. It wasn't clear how much prison time it would seek. He originally had 7 to 9 years. Stone was convicted in November of a 7-count indictment that accused him of lying to Congress, tampering with a witness, and obstructing the House investigation into whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia to tip the 2016 election. We know he didn't do that. This is horrible and very unfair situation. The real crimes were on the other side as nothing happens to them. Cannot allow this miscarriage of justice. So that was from Trump at 1:48 a.m. this morning. He quoted Chuck Ross, a tweet from Chuck Ross, saying, prosecutors recommend up to 9 years in prison for Roger Stone. They call foreign election interference a deadly adversary, even though Stone was never accused of working with Russians or WikiLeaks. Well, we just went through what he was accused of. So he technically wasn't accused of working with them, but he was accused of trying to get information from them, which to me kind of seems like you're splitting hairs almost in that regards. So the Justice Department is backing away from its sentencing recommendation. The official says there has been no contact with the White House over the decision, though U.S. President Trump tweeted early Tuesday. So the official said the recommendation was extreme and excessive and disproportionate to Stone's offenses. The official was not authorized to speak publicly and spoke to AP on condition of anonymity. Sorry. It's been a very, very long day for me. And of course, like always, we're going to talk about, what's going on in Twitter land today. Well, quite clearly, as I'm sure many of you would probably guess, people are beyond angry about this. This Michael Jolette says, Roger Stone is a rich white man convicted of obstruction of justice and perjury. His sentence is being reduced. Willie Simons is a black man from Alabama currently serving a life sentence for stealing $9. All right, let's stop just for a second here. If Willie Simons only stole $9, but he stole the $9 by putting a knife to a little girl's throat, do you see how just because you know the crime, you don't know the details of the crime, you don't know how severe, like, we know what he stole, okay? But we don't know how he stole it, we don't know the violence or anything that went behind it. Now, I'm going to be quite open. I find Roger Stone very amusing. He's very funny. He's done bad things, quite clearly. This whole deal with his indictment, to be honest with you, I haven't really come to an overall judgment on all of that yet. I've been looking at a lot of different information concerning what evidence was presented. Obviously, there's only so much that I can find, and I'm still looking, but until I have more information, I really don't Obviously, I have a personal opinion, but I don't want to share it because I don't feel like it's informed enough concerning Stone and the trial itself. Um, Now, please, down in the comments, let me know what you think, what you feel. Um, Now, we have to take into consideration that Roger Stone is a 69-year-old man. 7 and 9 years would leave him at almost 80. I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished, and I'm not saying that he should necessarily have his time dropped. But part of me understands the reasoning outside of the fact that Trump might be trying to repay a favor. Obviously, that is a possibility. But Roger Stone he's so old, and I know that's not an excuse. Like, age does not absolve you of a sin, very clearly. I do know that. But until we the people know all the evidence behind what was happening, we do know a few things. We know the Russian investigation didn't lead anywhere really. It showed some misconduct, but nothing impeachable, nothing strong enough that nothing strong enough that it was really illegal or broke any laws. Maybe immoral, but since when do we allow the left side to take the moral high ground? Maybe many years ago, maybe many years ago, there was a time where both sides of the political spectrum could claim some moral authority over some aspect or another. But I would say that that time for the left is long gone. That's my opinion. Rachel Maddow, ooh, what does she say? And the movie version of this moment in history, the movie where America wins at the end, this is the moment when a whole bunch of people resign. Oh, is it? Okay. Thanks, Rachel Maddow. You're such a stunning and brave woman. It's lucky for Roger Stone that he was just a wealthy white man convicted of obstruction of justice, perjury, and witness tampering, and not, let's say, a black man selling loose cigarettes on a street corner, because there are serious consequences for that. Chuck Schumer. They'll probably recommend no jail time, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a show on Fox News. You know, that seems like a dig at the fact that the Presidential Medal of Freedom went to Rush Limbaugh. And I said in a past video that regardless of how you feel about Rush Limbaugh, he meant a lot and does mean a lot to many, many Americans. And he has been a staple of the conservative discussion in America for decades now. And to just ignore that because you don't like him is like ignoring the good things Trump was saying during his State of the Union, because you don't like Trump, which is what a lot of the Democrats did. They, regardless of the fact that he's saying, 70% of new jobs have gone to women, and, black unemployment is at one of its, if not its lowest rate in American history. Like, these are things that the left purports to champion. And Trump just did it as like a byproduct of him doing stuff. All right, he didn't, obviously, during the State of the Union, he tooted his own horn. But he wasn't, boasting around, talking about how woke he was, how he's going to save, the people of color and these communities. That's more the stuff you'd see from the left. And it's really surprising that they were so adverse. Like the Tuskegee Airmen, when Trump said that he made him a brigadier general and pinned the medals and the stripes on him in the Oval Office earlier that day, how can you not be just pumped for that? Like, this individual served your country back in World War II, Vietnam, Korea. Like, he was all over the place. And he cares. He clearly cares. And you can see his great-grandson took a lot from this man. This man has values, principle, and a work ethic. Thank God this young boy looked up to him and didn't look up to, somebody selling drugs. The same way that for me, I could have fallen down a very bad path, but I chose to pick a different role model in my life and attempt and try to pull myself out of that path. And that's all we can do, is we can look at the role models around us and we can say, there's good and there's bad, let's pick the good. And in the case of the Tuskegee Airmen, everything that happened regarding him was a beautiful, it was made to tug at the heartstrings. But it did a very good job at accomplishing that. Barb McQuaid, if DOJ reduces its sentencing recommendation below the sentencing guidelines for Stone after Trump's public criticism, U.S. Attorney must resign. Otherwise, he is either not in charge of his own office or is a pawn of the president. Both are intolerable. Well, Barb, I'm going to say this. The Justice Department, which knows the legal system much better than you, said that there was no direct communication between the White House and the Department of Justice, which to me implies people are starting to understand that when Trump tweets, he actually tweets what he feels and what he means, and he's a man of principle. And when he says something, he means it. And if he's saying that we must look into this miscarriage of justice against Roger Stone, and in his opinion, it's a miscarriage of justice, that's his prerogative. Now, it's one thing for him to pardon Roger Stone. It's another thing for the DOJ to give a lesser sentence. I guess, the argument is that it's at the behest of Donald Trump. And I really, to be intellectually honest, I can understand where that argument comes from. Okay? But it's not like Trump called up the lawyers and the judges and everyone in charge of Roger Stone's trial and said, hey, you're going to get fired. Your whole lives are going to be ruined. Your families are going to be eating dirt unless Roger Stone gets a lesser sentence. All right? He tweeted that he thought what was going on was wrong. It's Twitter. Twitter makes up like 3% of the American populace. Take it easy. All right? Just because Trump is Twitter savvy and uses Twitter often and, makes a big hubbubaloo doesn't really mean bunk. It really doesn't. People need, I show Twitter because it's amusing, all right? That's why I show the Twitter reaction, because it's funny, and we can get a lot of hyperbolic responses from people, which is a lot of fun. Here's the last one. The DOJ gives sentencing recommendation of Roger Stone. POTUS tweets unfair. DOJ changes sentencing recommendation. What a effing farce. Well, Molly McCoo, all I can say to you is cry, cry. Or in internet culture, QQ. Everyone, please, I'd love your opinions on Roger Stone, how you have felt about him, how you do feel about him. Is this your first learning about him? Whatever, tell me your stories. Everyone, thank you so much for the support. I'm getting messages over my Johnny Depp video. People said that they were very, very happy to see people speaking out. And that's all I've ever strived to do, is to speak out against what I see as wrong and try to promote an active discourse in our society. Keep your eyes open. I'll have a Jordan Peterson video coming out in the next day or so. Thank you very much. I'm Daniel Inferno.